Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So let's get started with the proceeding of the discussion of the different architecture which we have here in the Selenium WebDriver. So in the previous video, I told you about some names of the uh, architecture components which we have in the Selenium WebDriver. Right? Today we'll be discussing them in the detail. That what are those and what are those completely used for. Okay. Let me get down here and get out some space. And even let me just quickly change out some color here as well. Great. Let's get started. So the very first one, I'll be starting off with the Selenium. One second. Let me take the cursor in hand. Okay, the first one we discuss Selenium language binding. So that's what I'll be writing up here. Selenium language bindings. Okay. Okay, and what is this as well called out? It is called as Selenium. It is as well called as Selenium client libraries. Selenium client libraries. Okay, it is as well called up this particular thing. Fine. So this Selenium developers have built a language binding. Have built a language binding, have built out a language binding, or we call that a Selenium client libraries or Selenium client libraries. So the Selenium developers have built out a language binding or Selenium client libraries. In order, what's the use of building that? So in order to support multiple languages. So the developers who were basically building up this WebDriver, so in that they have kept up the Selenium client library, so you call as language binding. So the reason for keeping that language binding was that in order to support up the multiple languages, this binding was actually used out, right? Hope I'm very much clear with that respective thing. Next, so for instance, okay, so here goes that for instance, if you want to use the browser driver, if you want to use the browser driver, if you want to use up the browser driver in Java, then use the Java bindings, comma, use the Java. Let me get down here, get out some space. For instance, if you want to use the browser driver in Java, use the Java bindings. Where goes the bindings? So as it is supported by all of the programming languages, so whatever the language you want to use out, you could use that in the Java, and with that relevant, you could use the driver of it. Fine. Now, all the supported languages, all the supported languages bindings can be downloaded from the official websites. So whatever the bindings you are having, whatever the supported languages you are having, and if you just want to download out the bindings for that, because you really need to download that simultaneously, okay? It doesn't come up pre-installed or anything like that, right? You need to download up the relevant supported language bindings which you want to use out, and then you could absolutely use that out. So you could get out that respective thing from the official website of the Selenium. You could go and find that out there, okay? Great. Hope I am very much clear with the very first one, that's the Selenium language bindings or the Selenium client libraries. Next, we were having the JSON wire protocol. Let's now discuss about the JSON wire protocol. That's what it is actually. So here goes the JSON wire, and here is the protocol. Okay, JSON via protocol. Now, what does this JSON first of all stands for? Right, since a long time I'm saying JSON and JSON again and again. So, what does that actually stand for? So, it stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay, make sure you remember the full form as well. It's the JavaScript Object Notation. Fine. So, here goes that JSON is an open standard. JSON is an open standard for exchanging. JSON is an open standard for exchanging data. Exchanging data on web. Okay. So it is first of all the open standard for exchanging of the data onto the web. Okay. Now what it supports? So it supports the data structure. It supports data structures like the data structures like object and array. Okay. So it supports of the data structures like the object and the array. So in that case, it is said we can say that it is easy to write. So it is easy to write and read data from JSON. Okay, let me just get down here for some space and I would explain what I'm writing. First of all, we discussed that JSON is an open standard for exchanging data onto the web. That is used out. That's completely okay. Now, what does it support? So, it supports the data structures like the objects and the arrays. So, this JSON thing supports up the data structures like the objects and the arrays. Now, it is very easy to write and read the data from the JSON. So, it's very much easy to write and read the data from the JSON. Right? So, I'm clear. Right, that is completely okay. Next is that basically JSON. Now we have to, if you just want to go ahead with this JSON thing, so you could just simply go onto the official website of the JSON and they will be getting up the respective things regarding that. Okay, that's not such a big deal in that respective case. Okay. What does this JSON wire protocol actually gives us? That why it is used. So that let's discuss out here. Oh, where is that pen gone? Right here. Okay. So the JSON wire protocol provides a transport mechanism to transfer data between a server and client JSON. Okay, between the client. So the JSON web protocol provides out a transport mechanism to transfer up the data between the server and the client. This is the main use of the JSON wire protocol. That's why it is basically a part of the WebDriver architecture. So in that case, it is simply used to transfer up the data between a server and the client. So in that respective case, the JSON web protocol is completely used out, right? So I would not mention up. Okay, where has that gone? This is not the thing which I need to really write up here. Okay. So I'm so sorry. One second. Here goes the client. Right. So hope I'm clear with this perspective as well regarding this JSON. This JSON wire protocol, that what is the use of this. So now if I talk about both of them, if I talk about first of all Selenium language bindings, that is as well called as Selenium client libraries. So the Selenium developers have built out a language binding or a Selenium client libraries in order to support up the multiple language. For instance, if you want to use the browser driver in Java, then use the Java bindings. All the supported languages bindings can be downloaded from the official website. That's okay, right? Now, if I talk about the JSON wire protocol. So JSON is an open standard for exchanging the data onto the web. It supports the data structures like object and arrays. So it is easy to read and write data from JSON. That's okay. What about the JSON wire protocol in detail? So it is a kind of JSON wire protocol provides up a transport mechanism to transfer the data between a server and a client. Right, so hope I'm very much clear with these things to you that what are these architectures for, what are they actually used for, right? Next we'll be dealing with the rest of the two remaining drivers, that was browser driver, and it was one more thing was there, real browsers, right? We'll be discussing about them in the next video. So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.